What's your problem? I said, what's your problem?
How are you today, sir?
Okay, how's it going?
Fine, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Noticing. There seems to be quite a bit of noticing going on these days. To notice something isn't inherently bad, but lack of spiritual discernment has led many who are conspiracy-minded to follow the white rabbit, as they say. So I'm sure you are wondering what it is that you just watched, and also why I have a meme on the screen. Well, the video you saw was from Iran on February 11th of this year. It featured the burning of an effigy of the pagan god Baal. If you have read the Bible, you will be familiar with this name. Many times throughout, God warned Israel against worship of this false god. Baal was linked to child sacrifice, something that God said had never entered his heart. We will go over some specific passages concerning Baal worship and idolatry in this video, so there is no need to get into detail right away. All we need to realize is that Iran has been burning statues of Baal, associating it with the state of Israel, and that there is massive global support for this act. Now, shifting gears, let's address the meme on the screen. This meme is from a person that obviously supports the destruction of Baal. This isn't remarkable in any way whatsoever. No one would be against the destruction of a false god who has an appetite for humans. No, that is not what I noticed here. Do me a favor. Take a look on the right side, on the left shoulder of the man in the picture. There is a variation of Pepe the frog perched as a bird. Keep Pepe front and center in your mind throughout this video, as I will reveal an interesting correlation at the end. Pepe has become a mascot for what I would call the resistance to dystopianism, just like in the novel 1984 that we discussed. Pepe represents the resistance to tyranny and oppression, sort of like Neo from The Matrix. He is used by the conspiracy community quite often in various forms and settings. But the main point is that he is a universal figure for nationalism, religion, and opposition to evil. Pepe is a cute mascot indeed, but when you realize that we are truly at the end of the age and headed towards the time of God's indignation, it would be wise to put on our special sunglasses and see through the illusions of the world, right into the dreadful, demonic reality of the false light of Satan.
2 Kings 9.
Okay.
The prophet Elisha summoned a man from the company of the prophets and said to him, "Tuck your cloak into your belt, take this flask of olive oil with you and go to Ramoth-Gilead. When you get there, look for Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi. Go to him, get him away from his companions, take him to an inner room, take the flask, pour the oil on his head and declare, 'This is what the Lord says, I anoint you king over Israel.' Then open the door and run. Don't delay." So the young prophet went to Ramoth-Gilead. When he arrived, he found the army officers sitting together. "I have a message for you, commander." He said, "For which one of us?" asked Jehu. "For you, commander," he replied. Jehu got up, went into the house. Then the prophet poured the oil on Jehu's head and declared, "This is what the Lord God of Israel says, I anoint you king over the Lord's people Israel. You are to destroy the house of Ahab your master. I'll avenge the blood of my servants, the prophets, blood of all the Lord's servants shed by Jezebel. The whole house of Ahab will perish. I will cut off Ahab every last male," and it goes on. Then he opened the door and ran. So the prophet Elijah is now going to do what Elijah was told to do, which is to anoint a man called Jehu. Who was Jehu? He was a leader, but he was not a politician. He was a soldier. He was a fighter. He was in Jehoram's camp. He was, even before that, he was of Ahab's camp. He served Ahab. Now Jehoram is in Jezreel. Elisha sends one of the prophets, young prophet, to anoint him to bring an end to the house of Ahab, to bring judgment that Elijah had prophesied to Ahab in Jezreel. The phenomenon of Donald Trump, it defied everybody's expectations. It came out of the blue. The key behind him, at least up to this point, and we've heard Cyrus, and there's something there, but is the man called Jehu. Jehu is anointed to come head to head with Jezebel. It would come in the end down to Jezebel versus Jehu. The election of 2016 would come down to Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump. At the time, Jezebel is older. She's a grandmother. So is Hillary Clinton. What about Jehu? What do we know? He's a leader. He's not a politician. He's a man of war. He's a man who gets into a lot of conflicts. He's a man he's not a gentleman. He's a rough man. He mounts his chariot and heads to the royal city. And he heads there to do, it's a race to the throne, like a race to the White House. He's racing. The lookout reports, he says, it's the lookout who's in Jezreel says, "Look, we see something coming." What does it look like? He says, "The driving is like that of Jehu, son of Nimshi, for he drives furiously." But let me tell you, it's even more than that. Yes, the race to the throne by Jehu was furious, but the Hebrew is even more amazing, because the word in Hebrew is shugah, which means crazy. Donald Trump's race to the throne was crazy.
Yeah.
It also means insane and mad. I can't think of a better word to describe this campaign. And last thing, Jehu drives the chariot crazily to the White House. Well, I'm sorry, Trump did. But nevertheless, even though it was crazy, Jehu gets there. And the same with Trump. Even though it was crazy, he gets there. And at the same time, listen, if I tell you, I'm not going to read all this, but it's amazing when I read the commentaries. This is what commentaries, pulpit commentary, all the 19th century, 20th century commentaries, not me, commentaries say about Jehu. He was ruthless, but he was chosen by God. He was tenacious. He was furious. He would have occasional bursts of fury, it says. Almost fanatical zeal. There was personal ambition, but he was also used by God. This is what the commentaries are saying. He was chosen. I don't even have to say anything here. I don't have to say. Chosen to be used. God uses unlikely vessels. Even he can use those who don't know him as well. And he uses those who come to know him.
Yes.
This is not republicanism as we have known it.
These are racist ideas, race-baiting ideas, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, anti-women, all key tenets making up the emerging racist ideology known as the alt-right.
Jehu, a name that is revered by many today as an instrument of God against evil and idolatry. Of course, he certainly was an instrument of God. He it was that eradicated worship of Baal in Israel. He it was that destroyed the evil harlot queen Jezebel, who threatened the life of God's servant Elijah, and also had the other prophets of God murdered. A noble task, indeed. Who would complain against such things? A man who had such a zeal for God that he rode his chariot like a madman in order to wipe the demonic face of Baal and his worshippers off of the face of the Holy Land. It all looks good on paper, but it seems like some have forgotten to look on the other side of the page. You see, Jehu was an instrument of God, no doubt, but he was by no means a good man. God sometimes uses men that we would consider to be lacking morally, such as Nebuchadnezzar, to fulfill his purpose. This is the case with Jehu. He certainly had zeal, but not for God. From the moment that he is ordained king by the servant of the prophet Elisha, he wastes no time in carrying out the edict given. Jehu was never a man of peace. He was a captain of the military. In 2 Kings chapter 9, verse 22, the king of Israel asks Jehu if there is peace between them. The answer is quick and harsh. There will be no peace for the son of a prostitute and witch. This verse is striking as it parallels language in the book of Revelation. There are two Israels at the time of the end of the age. One will be called a harlot. She will reign over the kings of the earth. Eventually, like Jezebel, the flesh of the harlot will be devoured. The destruction of apostate Israel will come by the hand of the Antichrist, a commander who has the temperament of Jehu, who will throw peace to the ground to fulfill his desire for self-glorification. In this way, Jehu is certainly a shadow of the Antichrist. But, you may protest, Jehu destroyed the prophets of Baal, a demonic entity that devours children and pollutes the hearts of men. Yes, he certainly did, but the other side of the page needs to be read in order to see what was in the heart of Jehu. "Come with me and look on my zeal for Yahweh," said Jehu. When we first read the account, it would seem like a genuine statement, but when we get to the conclusion of Jehu's war against Baal, we find something interesting. It says, "And Jehu has not taken heed to walk in the law of Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, with all his heart. He has not turned aside from the sins of Jeroboam, that he caused Israel to sin." Now what is this? Who is Jeroboam, and what is this particular sin that Jehu failed to eradicate? Well, let's take a look at 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 28. This verse speaks of the very first king of the northern kingdom called Israel. It says, "And the king takes counsel, and makes 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, Enough to you of going up to Jerusalem. Lo, your Elohims, O Israel, which brought you up out of the land of Egypt." 2 golden calves, twice the sin. Everyone is familiar with the account of Aaron and the golden calf at the foot of Mount Sinai. Israel sinned so greatly against God that he was ready to wipe them out. Here we have twice the reason to eradicate all of Israel. 1 calf was placed at Beth-El, and the other in Dan. This was King Jeroboam's way of taking worship away from the true temple in Jerusalem. If the citizens of his own kingdom have to go to another one to find God, then God must not be with him. If God is not with him, then his kingdom is in danger. Do you see the line of thought here? Jeroboam didn't care about the sacred things, just the peace and security of his kingdom. So he violated God's law and remade the one thing that would ensure the destruction of that kingdom, as is recorded in 2 Kings chapter 17, verses 22 to 23. This is the same sin that Jehu, the destroyer of Baal, took part in. Idolatry is idolatry, whether it is obviously wicked or for political purposes. Both are evil. So it is with Jehu, the idolater. He exalted himself over God when he left the golden calves at Beth-El and Dan. He was zealous for himself. This is another shadow of the Antichrist in the man Jehu. The Antichrist will tempt men to look in themselves for salvation. His dupes will claim zeal for God while hypocritically pointing the finger at those they deem sinners. This is the legacy of Jehu. It is a warning for those who chase after obvious wickedness without looking into the mirror at the wickedness in themselves first.
I was on an airplane probably 25 years ago with James Carville, who was my co-host at CNN, and, you know, a great guy in some ways, a great guy, but very smart. And I said something about Israel, some humiliation. They were shooting into the Church of the Nativity, murdering a bell ringer. So I was like, oh, I don't want to fight about Israel. I never have wanted to, but I said, that is just too much. I mean, whatever it was at the moment. And he goes, I'll never forget this. He goes, you want your kids to get into college? I was like, I guess. I had little kids, a lot of them. And he goes, then you'll shut up. I was like, you think that would affect my kids' ability to get into college? I'd never even thought of that before. Of course. Then you'll shut up. Quote. That's a verbatim quote. You want your kids to get into college and you'll shut up. And to my shame, I guess, I did kind of shut up for like 20 years. It's like, I don't want to deal with this at all. I've got all kinds of things I'm interested in. I'm not that interested in Israel. Love Jerusalem, but like, I don't want to get involved. So I'm not trying to be melodramatic, but that's real. And did you ever have a moment where you're like, you know, maybe I just ignore it. Let it slide.
Yeah. No. And so, Tucker, it happened to me. So there's a private school in LA. It actually happened to Anna too in two different ways. So, and we applied for my son to get into that private school. And one of my nephews happens to work as a volunteer in that school. And someone at admission told him that my son's application was going to be hurt because of his dad's positions on Israel.
Actually?
They actually said that out loud.
That's why the Israelis have been happy to murder tens of thousands of children in Gaza, because they believe in blood guilt. That's the truth. They say it out loud. Amalek, we believe in blood guilt. Like, the children are responsible for the sins of their parents. So we're going to kill them or not let them into the school. And we face this a lot in my family. So.
Oh, that made me emotional. Made me emotional to see that. Susie Wiles had tears in her eyes, which you don't often see in politics, but it's real. This is the most unbelievable thing I think I've ever seen. And whatever happens next in America, I hope it's in this direction, because God is here and you can feel it. And Charlie would have loved this, not just because he loved large groups of people, but because ultimately he was a Christian evangelist. And it actually reminds me of my favorite story ever. So it's about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus shows up and he starts talking about the people in power, and he starts doing the worst thing that you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate it, and they just go bonkers. They hate it, and they become obsessed with making him stop. This guy's got to stop talking. We've got to shut this guy up. And I can just sort of picture the scene in a lamplit room with a bunch of guys sitting around eating hummus, thinking about, what do we do about this guy telling the truth about us? We must make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with the bright idea, and I can just hear him say, I've got an idea, why don't we just kill him? That'll shut him up. That'll fix the problem. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Everything is inverted.
You've been very supportive of her, not critical, even though I would argue, and I have to her face when I've had her on the show, I get on well with Candace, but some of the stuff she's been doing in relation to Erica Kirk, Brigitte Macron, and others, I do think is really regrettable, kind of conspiracy theory nonsense just for clicks and money. Why would you hesitate before criticizing her over stuff like that?
I've criticized Candace many times over the years. We've had many public fights over the years. But isn't it interesting that you will, quote, platform Candace? She hasn't been on my show in several years, but I get all the hard time. Why am I getting that? You're the one, quote, platforming Candace Owens. She and I don't have that kind of relationship. Candace took a bunch of crap because she was very anti-Israel in the Gaza war. And it became a thing where you had to say she was terrible in her positioning. And then after Charlie died, she started questioning whether Israel had any role in it. And that's when they really tried to amp up the pressure on me to condemn her. And I refused, because Charlie was starting to have serious questions about Israel. Not just its role in the Gaza war, but its influence on American politicians, something he and I spent hours and hours discussing. So I had no problem with Candace Owens asking those questions. And I refused to condemn her because I was under pressure from these people who wanted me to. And then that morphed into then everything Candace said thereafter, with which I may or may not have had serious problems, that I had to, where's the condemnation? And it was all really about the Israel thing. And I'd rather die than bend the knee to these people. I'd rather die than bend the knee. It won't happen. I didn't raise my fist and say BLM, and I'm not going to condemn the people they want me to condemn just so that I can get a little pat on their head, on my head from them. It's not important to me. What's important to me is I live free. And that, frankly, is what it means to be an American.
What the hell? Long white rabbit.
Follow the white rabbit. See how deep the rabbit hole goes. It's interesting, isn't it? No matter what rabbit hole is followed, it always ends at the same place. The identity of that place should be quite obvious at this point. But how could this be? Why do all of the conspiracies end up at the doorstep of one group of people? Well, first, we need to understand the unprecedented time that we are living in. The technological advancements are enough in themselves to warrant a pause. We have artificial intelligence and weapons of war that seem to have jumped out of a science fiction novel. But these things are just signs of the time. The truth is that we are at the end of the age. It is close to the time of the return of Christ. The body of Christ leaves this earth, and then the indignation of God follows. Speaking of God's indignation, we need only look at the book of Revelation to understand what is happening. John was given many details concerning Israel at the time of the end that will shine a light on our subject. But before we get to Revelation, let's take a look at verses 2 and 3 in the 16th chapter of John's Gospel account. Here it says, "For they will be putting you out of the synagogues, but coming is the hour that everyone who is killing you should suppose he is offering divine service to God. And these things will they be doing to you, for they know not the Father, nor even me." What a profound statement. It could certainly be applied to the period in Revelation called Jacob's trouble, where faithful Israelites are persecuted by the nations, nations that claim to serve God, but are in fact deluded by the serpent. They will be under the spell of the false light of the Antichrist, the self-righteous, Gnostic gospel of pride. This is where everything is headed. The judgment of the apostate nation of Israel, the persecution of the faithful in Israel, and then finally the destruction of the nations by Christ. To understand the sequence of these events, we need to look at the two Israels of the end. There is first and foremost the faithful woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a wreath of 12 stars on her head. This is found in the 12th chapter of Revelation, beginning at verse 1. In that same chapter, it mentions the dragon, who is Satan. The dragon persecutes the woman, attempting to destroy her. In verse 17 it says, "And the dragon is angry with the woman, and came away to do battle with the rest of her seed, who are keeping the precepts of God, and who have the testimony of Jesus." These are the faithful Israel of God. They will rule with Christ for the 1,000 years after they have gone through the awful time of persecution. They are Satan's true target. Satan need not seduce the other Israel. They willingly worship him, just as Jezebel willingly worshipped Baal. No, it is the adversary's intention to lump the wheat with the tares, so to speak, that is, unfaithful Israel with faithful Israel, and then set the entire field on fire. But before we can delve into that goal in more detail, we need to see the description of false Israel as described by John. A special portion of judgment is given to them by God. In Revelation chapters 17 and 18, we see the fall of the whore of Babylon. The description given for the prostitute is quite vivid. Starting at verse 3 in chapter 17, it says, "And I perceived a woman sitting on a scarlet wild beast, replete with names of blasphemy, and having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was clothed with purple and scarlet, and gilded with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, brimming with abominations and the uncleannesses of the prostitution of her and the earth. And on her forehead is written a name, Secret Babylon the Great, the mother of the prostitutes and the abominations of the earth." Wow, what do all of these details mean? A woman that is described as if she were Jezebel herself, who is atop a scarlet wild beast. The woman is apostate Israel, and the beast is the nations of the earth. In the figure, Israel has taken what was promised, which is earthly rule, and has usurped the nations through deception, establishing itself as leader without Christ. This prostitute has gone the way of Jacob. Jacob means usurper. Jacob was promised blessings, but lacked faith in God to fulfill them. So Jacob used trickery and cunning to try to attain those blessings. And so it is with this figurative Jacob in Revelation. This group of lawless Israelites are destroyed by the very beast that they derive their power from, the beast that produces the man of lawlessness. The nations he will command will eat the prostitute's flesh and burn her with fire. That is the fruit of her disobedience in the end. The prostitute is evil. She worships Baal and sacrifices humans. She drinks the blood of the saints. What harsher imagery is needed to prove that this obvious evil deserves judgment by God?
You're looking for Elon Musk's account on X, on the social media service. He has changed his name and his profile picture. The photo, the photo that, now of a, I don't know
what
really.
Is that? That's Pepe.
That's Pepe.
Yeah.
But it says it's a photo of a frog. That's not a frog.
That's Pepe the
That
frog.
is a
that's
man
keep
frog.
reading.
Yeah,
Keep
but it's
reading.
not a frog. It's not a frog. It's a man. It's a man, a muscular man with a frog's face, named
His name
Pepe.
is now Kikus Maximus?
Kikius Maximus.
But you know what the frog is,
His new
right?
handle on is now. Well, you say he's Pepe.
Yeah, it's Pepe. It is Pepe.
One of the.
It's a right-wing mascot.
It is?
Yeah. Since
Right?
since like 2015.
Right
Where have I
wing.
Yeah.
What does he talk about? What is he?
It's just a meme. It's a right-wing. This was like a big thing in like 2015, 2016.
It's time. Time to find our friends.
Is it time to find our friends?
All of them.
All of them.
All of the mutants.
All the mutants?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's right.
Every one of them?
Oh, yes.
Good.
It's time to bring it to an end. Make me proud.
Now, you've been embattled in this conflict for quite a long time, and I've got to imagine that the way you look at the world, the way you see things many, many steps ahead, do you see any sort of a logical conclusion to this process? Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel, or do you see an impossible to avoid conflict? Like, what do you see when you look at this whole thing long term?
Well, I would say I can't look at it long term. And the reason for that is that And this is why I get a kick out of all the Kekistan boys. You know, I do believe that we're in a period of chaos.
What's a Kekistan?
Kek? Oh, Kek is a mythological country that's ruled by chaos, by the god Kek, who's a frog, as it turns out. I
don't know about this.
Well, you need to look them up. That's a big internet thing, Kekistan.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A big internet thing? All I know about the frog is
thing.
the frog, the Trump frog,
Mhm.
the Pepe the frog, who is apparently so distraught that his frog has been used to
Yes, he
align
killed him
with-
off, eh?
Yeah, he killed him off, but good luck, he didn't.
All right, so
that's stupid because
the
that's
people
not gonna
who were using Pepe, I haven't got the story quite right, but I'll get it mostly right. The people who were using Pepe as a meme,
There it is.
used that's
Republic
it.
of Kekistan.
Yeah,
This
so they
is hilarious.
so they used this symbol KEK
Uh-huh.
to replace LOL. And the reason they did that was because KEK in Korean means LOL. And so it was just this little joke. Kek, K-E-K. Well, then somebody found out these were people who were using Pepe, remember? It's a frog. Then people found out that Kek was an Egyptian god. And he was a frog. And he was between categories. Sort of like a transsexual, by the way. He was between categories. And so now they have this Republic of Kek, and it's ruled by this Egyptian god whose name is Kek, who's a frog.
Hold on, go back. Don't keep changing this. Jamie's doing this in the background while you're talking, but look at this. There's a frog with a Make America Great Again hat, and he's got like a tombstone. It says, "Those who served in the meme war, 2015 and 2016. We are the gods of the great meme war. We are the shit posters. The Legion of Kek. We are the internet. The death of the normies. Lulz and Kek. We are one." What in the fuck is going on?
That is the question. And that's the question you asked me. And my answer was, I don't know. We're in a period of chaos. We're in a period of chaos. And in a period of chaos, the time horizon shrinks because the outcome is uncertain.
Well, this seems to be truly embracing chaos. I mean, just that statement, the frog, the Donald Trump thing with the hat on. This is one of the things that seems to me to be a reoccurring feature in this whole chaos ballet that we're watching play out.
Find all the mutants. Find them. Which one? Find all the mutants. Everywhere. Find them all. Each one. All of them. Good. Kill them. Now, concentrate. Concentrate harder. Now find them all. Find all the mutants. Concentrate harder. Each and every one of us. Find all the mutants. Kill them all. Find them all.
Who would have thought that a cute little frog could have such dark origins? Pepe? Really? Alas, my friends, the truth is often in plain sight. I asked you at the beginning of the video to keep Pepe in mind. Now I'm going to show you why. Pepe, as you just saw, is associated with the Egyptian god Kek. He is the god of darkness and chaos. Now, where does it say that the wild beast, that is, the Antichrist, comes from? In Revelation chapter 17, verse 8, it says, "The wild beast which you perceived was, and is not, and is about to be ascending out of the submerged chaos, and to be going away into destruction. And marvel shall those dwelling on the earth, whose names are not written on the scroll of life from the disruption of the world, when they observe the wild beast, seeing that it was, and is not, and will be present." These verses seem to be somewhat of a mock resurrection of Jesus Christ. The beast is not. This means that it was dead, but then will be present. The words submerged chaos here are often translated abyss, an abode of darkness for rebellious angels. This is the same place where Satan will be bound for 1,000 years after Christ returns. The abyss is an interesting correlation with Kek, the frog demon of darkness and chaos, but there is more to be seen here. There is a reason that this symbol of a frog has become so prevalent among the false light movement. You see, Satan wishes to round up all of Israel into one field, so to speak, as was said before in a wheat and tares analogy, and then burn the entire field. It's the opposite of Christ's parable, where the tares grow with the wheat and then the wheat is safely removed. No, Satan has his own version. He will gladly sacrifice his willing worshippers in Israel, the worshippers of Baal who sacrifice humans, in order to turn the world against all Israelites. If the world believes that Israelites have caused all of their problems, such as wars, plagues, torture, and famine, then they will accept the final solution of the Antichrist, annihilation of Israel. It's the false light sleight of hand. Expose the obvious, disgusting evil of a portion and then label the entire group as such. This is why the faithful in Israel will be beheaded during the tribulation period. But are we told specifically how this is accomplished? Yes. In Revelation chapter 16, verses 13 through 16, it says, "And I perceived out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the wild beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, 3 unclean spirits as if frogs, for they are the spirits of demons doing signs, which are going out to the kings of the whole inhabited earth, to be mobilizing them for the battle of the great day of God Almighty. And they mobilized them at the place called, in Hebrew, Armageddon." Well, that is certainly interesting. Unclean spirits, as if frogs, are sent out to mobilize the kings of the earth against Christ himself. Imagine it, an unprecedented mobilization of military might specifically aimed against the image of God. It takes an extreme level of deception to accomplish such a thing. This is the scene where Christ treads the winepress of the fury of the wrath of God in the vale of Jezreel. You know, Jezreel, the very place where Jezebel was killed by Jehu the idolater. Oh, the irony. The place where the so-called zealous man of God destroyed the greatest servant of Baal is where Christ will destroy the worshippers of the beast. He will tread on them as Jehu treaded on Jezebel with his chariot. The worship of the golden calves will be exposed for the universe to behold. The facade of righteousness will be revealed for what it is, self-righteousness. Great hailstones from the sky will rain onto the armies of the golden calf in that day, utterly annihilating them. Think about it. What a scene of poetic justice. God uses the unclean spirits of frog demons, such as Kek, through the agency of the dragon, beast, and false prophet, to convince the idolatrous rulers of the earth to fight against the Savior of the world. And so it goes with a seemingly innocent symbol of resistance to dystopianism, Pepe the frog. Pepe just wants to help humanity free themselves of the prison system that they live in. He wants to bring down the evil demiurge that has suppressed their potential for thousands of years. He wants you to know that his good friend, the serpent, is telling the truth about man's inner divinity. The serpent in the garden was the hero. He just wants to free humanity of the archons. Israelites are the archons. They serve the demiurge, Yahweh. The shackles must be broken to ascend, and to break the shackles the enforcers must be removed. It's the only way. Humanity must take the red pill. Humanity must resist. Wake up.